Hi students, welcome back to your Sunday school class. So far we have seen how Joshua has taken the leadership of the Israelites from Moses, how he helped them to cross the river Jordan, conquered the land of Jericho, got into Canaan, and then went on to acquire the different parts of Canaan. Now obviously this was not handed over easily by the people who were already living there, and Joshua had to fight many battles to gain over this land. So he fought many kings and their armies. Some of them even tricked Joshua into signing a treaty with them, and we saw how that went. But over a period of time, the Israelites finally managed to gain every inch of the land of Canaan. And in today's lesson, we are going to talk about how they settled in the land of Canaan, how the land was divided among the 12 tribes of Israel, and finally, how was Joshua's leadership throughout this time. We have so far seen Joshua, the leader-in-chief, the battle-in-chief, and we are now going to see the leader settling down among the people in the land of Canaan. Now, before we go on with our story of Joshua and the Israelites, let's hear a story about two brothers. Okay, these brothers were living on a huge farm with their family. Now, one brother was married, he had his wife and his children, whereas the other brother was single. The land was very productive, and so both the brothers would equally share the profit and the benefit of the land. Now one night while the single brother was just about to sleep, he thought, it's not fair that the produce and the profit is shared equally among us, because I'm single, my needs are simple, and so my brother and his family would be struggling. So why not help them? And so in the middle of the night, he gets up, he picks up a sack of corn and puts it in his brother's barn. Around the same time, the married brother also has the same thoughts. He said, I have my wife and family who will look after me in my old age, but my brother is all alone and there's no one to look after him. So it's not fair that the land and the produce the profit is distributed equally, and so I should do something to help my brother in his old age. So he goes on about picking up a sack of corn from his barn and putting back into his brother's barn. And this goes on for years, and both brothers wonder how come they are still making the same profit and the same produce. And it so happened that one night while both brothers were transferring their sack of corn into each other's barns, they bumped into each other and then they realized what was happening. Now what we are talking about here is the thought of sharing. Yeah, we have heard this term, sharing is caring. And many a times when you see your friends with their, tiffin boxes at school or even at tuition, you say, "Arey, share it with me na." Right? Because maybe it's something that you like, and so you ask your friend, "Hey, share with me, you have extra." Okay, but let's think about people who have very little. Okay, who have very little, but still share. So now I want you to think about how you would convince a person who has a lot of things to share with, but he's being stingy. Okay, maybe it could be your best friend. Okay, you want your best friend to share something with you. Okay, but they aren't ready. So how would you convince them to share that thing with you? Because they have a lot. Whereas, you know that your friend has the thing that you like, but in a very little quantity. So how would you convince that friend to share the little that they have with you? Many a times, even when we have a lot of things with us to share, okay, we are being very stingy, or we, hide it, and we don't tell others about what we have. One such example is our talents. Okay, many a times we feel shy, scared, embarrassed about sharing the God-given talents that we have with others. And so we hide ourselves and don't tell others about what we can actually do. Whereas there are some people who have very little talent but go on all about sharing it with others and displaying it as much as they can. So on which side would you like to be? The side which hides and doesn't share, or the side that shows and displays their talent, even the little bit that they have? Try scoring yourselves against possessions, talent, energy, and helping others. As I said earlier, today we are going to see about how the land was shared among the 12 tribes. Now, Israelites didn't need to think about sharing. It was a land that they had conquered, but still they went on about to equally distribute the land among each other so that there would be peace among the tribes. And in today's lesson, we are going to see how exactly this division took place. Now, this land was divided equally among them and was distributed by casting lots. So, Joshua had taken Moses' plan. Moses had already begun plans while crossing the desert about how to allot the land among the tribes, and Joshua took forward that plan and helped put it into action. The Eleazar, the priest, and the other priests helped in the distribution of this land. So the tribe of Levi, the third son of Jacob, was not given any particular land. They lived in Levitical towns, and all that they needed was provided by the other tribes of Israel. They were given pastures so that their flocks could graze, but this was the tribe that provided the priests of the temple and later on the temple servants. So they were not given a particular land as property, and so to keep the number 12, what they did was Joseph had two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So the extra tribe that came from the son of Joseph, they divided that as the 12th tribe, and therefore they kept the formation of 12 among them. Now obviously, as years passed by, Joshua was now old and he had to, just like Moses, transfer on the duties to another leader to lead the Israelites. Now before he could transfer this authority to anyone, he called all the people together, all the tribes together at Shechem. He reminded the Israelites about God's mercy, God's plan, God's covenant with Abraham, how he brought them into the promised land from the land of Egypt where they were suffering for so many years, the crossing of the desert, and finally how they came back to settle in the land of Canaan. For many of you who don't know, when Abraham had traveled from the land of Ur so many years back, he had finally settled in the land of Canaan, but because of the famine which we see in the book of Genesis, he had shifted to Egypt where his son Joseph was reigning as governor. And they went on to live there even after the death of Joseph, and that's how the Israelites got caught up in Egypt. And so finally Israelites have come back to the land promised by God to Abraham and his descendants. Joshua reminded the people of Israel about how God's great plan came into action, getting them back into their promised land. He reminded them of the covenant that God made with Abraham, and he renewed this covenant with them at Shechem, told the people to remember to always follow the true God, Yahweh, and not to fall into the temptation of worshipping other gods. So Joshua made a covenant with the people of Israel and God, and to commemorate the renewal of this covenant, he set up a stone under an oak tree at Shechem so that it would be a proof of the covenant of Israelites and God. So Joshua served the people, led the people, and died at the age of 110. After his death, they buried him on his own land in the land of Timnath Serah. So what we need to see from this lesson is not only the occupation of the Israelites in the land of Canaan. We also get to see throughout this time how God is bringing his people together. So it's not only talking about settling together, but it's also talking about the unity of the 12 tribes and how God wanted to really keep his promise to Abraham that he had made so many years ago about giving the land to his descendants. And we can see throughout this time how God made the Israelites acknowledge him, that it was in his power that they came to the destination of the promised land. So let's now take a comfortable posture and think about all that we have heard in today's lesson. God not only got the Israelites out of slavery into the land from the land of Egypt into the promised land, but he also inspired them to share the land equally and live with each other in the promised land. Let's look at a short reading from the book of Joshua. Then the whole congregation of Israelites assembled at Shiloh and set up the tent meeting there. The land lay subdued before them. 3 remained among the Israelites, 7 tribes whose inheritance had not yet been apportioned. So Joshua said to the Israelites, "How long will you be slack about going in and taking possession of the land that the Lord, the God of your ancestors, has given you? Provide 3 men from each tribe, and I will send them out, that they may begin to go throughout the land, writing a description of it with a view to their inheritances. Then come back to me." So the men went and traversed the land, set down a book of description of it by towns in 7 divisions. Then they came back to Joshua in the camp at Shiloh, and Joshua cast lots for them in Shiloh before the Lord. And there Joshua apportioned the land to the Israelites, to each a portion. Then the people answered, "Far be it from us that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods. For it is the Lord our God who brought us and our ancestors up from the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And who did those great signs in our sight? He protected us all along the way that we went, and among all the peoples through whom we passed. And the Lord drove out before us all the peoples, the Amorites who lived in the land. Therefore, we also will serve the Lord, for he is our God." Now let's reflect on a few questions based on today's lesson. How did Joshua distribute the land to the Israelites in the camp at Shiloh? Yes, Joshua cast lots for them before the Lord. The land given to each tribe created a sense of belonging to God and to the other tribes. As a sign of gratitude, what did the Israelites promise to the Lord in return? Yes, they promised they would never forsake the one Lord Yahweh to serve other gods worshipped in Canaan. Now, students, I want you to think about this. With all that we have heard in today's lesson about, the equal distribution of land and all the 12 tribes of Israel settling in the land of Canaan, how do you think is the situation in India? You've seen India's map, correct? And you can see that all of the states are divided. Consider them as tribes. But are we living, sharing equally? Is everyone living along the same budget? Living in a house, having food, clothing and shelter, roti, kapda, makan. Does everyone have that? No. Are we making provisions to take care of the people who are downtrodden, who are poor, who can't look after themselves? When we only look at India, you can see what vast differences are there in the life that you are living and a life of a child living on the street. Yes, now you can say that those are circumstances and chance. But are we doing anything? Is the government doing anything? Or are your future plans on helping others concrete? Are you thinking about helping others or just helping yourself? So the lesson is not only to learn more about how the Israelites were living. The Israelites are the past. How are we going to apply their past to our present is what we really need to think about. I know currently you all are just in school. Your main goals are to study, get good marks and form a career, get jobs. But are we thinking about others at the same time? Let's look at our own families. Are we thinking about how to help mom and dad, or your younger brother or sister, or your elder brother or sister in small ways? Do we think about sharing anything that we have with each other? Charity begins at home. So I'm not telling you to start anything big. Okay, start small, and from that small, God can make it a very, very big thing. So after hearing all about today's lesson, the settlement in the land of Canaan, what I would like you to do today is take out the map of India. You can draw an outline in the book after looking at it. And on this outline map of India, I would like you to write a letter to India's Prime Minister, the advice of Joshua to the Israelites. How would you convince the Indian Prime Minister to look at the country's current situation despite the COVID-19 situation? How to improve the life of the slum dwellers, of the farmers in the villages, and all of the people who are living really, really sad lives today. So you can write this in brief, and you can write it with bullet points. So it doesn't need to be like an essay. So it could be in bullet points, and you can send this letter to your Sunday school teacher who will review it. I hope many of you will have great ideas on what to write in today's homework. And let's end with a hymn. I hope everybody knows The World Stands in Need. Let's sing with the lyrics displayed on the screen.
The world stands in need of liberation, my Lord. It still has to feel your power. The blind and the deaf, the dumb and the maimed, all need to feel your healing touch. The world stands in need of liberation, my Lord. It still has to learn to love. There are those who have eyes but refuse to see their inhumanity to men. There are those who have ears but refuse to hear the cries of men in agony. The world stands in need of liberation, my Lord. It still has to feel your power. The blind and the deaf, the dumb and the maimed, all need to feel your healing touch. The world stands in need